Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to get into what really makes an athlete truly great. It's so much more than just raw talent or spending endless hours in the gym. It's about having a plan, a real blueprint for mastering your craft. So let's just start with that big question right there. What is the secret sauce? Is it just genetics? Pure luck? Well, what we're going to see is that the answer is way more structured and honestly a lot more achievable than you might think. It's not some secret, it's a science. And this really gets to the core of the idea. Elite performance isn't just built on one thing. It's a whole structure, and it rests on four key pillars that all have to work together. You can see how if one of them starts to crack, the whole thing could get pretty unstable. Okay, so let's start with the absolute foundation, the physical engine. This is all about the raw power, the endurance, the pure physical capacity that literally every other skill is built on top of. Without a powerful engine, even the most high-tech car is going absolutely nowhere. Now, the number one rule for building this engine is something called the principle of specificity. And it's so simple, but it's really profound. You get good at what you do. Your body is this incredible adaptation machine, but here's the catch. It only adapts to the specific stress you put on it. So yeah, general fitness is good, but to be a world-class swimmer, you gotta spend a lot of time in the pool. And you can see how this plays out in the real world, right? A tennis player isn't just lifting random weights, they're training explosive rotational movements that look and feel just like a powerful serve. A 10K runner, well, they run because that's what builds the exact kind of endurance they need on race day. Specific demands create very specific results. But to keep that engine getting better, we need two more concepts: overload and progression. Think about it like this. Overload is that one workout where you push just a little bit harder. You add 5 more pounds to the bar. But progression, that's the long-term plan. That's the roadmap that makes sure you're slowly and steadily increasing that stress week after week. One is the moment, the other is the whole journey. And finally, we get to the hard truth of this physical pillar, the principle of reversibility. You know all those hard-won gains, all that strength and endurance? Yeah, they're not permanent. If you stop training, your body starts to revert. So, the bottom line is, consistency is absolutely non-negotiable. All right, let's move on to our second pillar and see how this all connects. Having a powerful engine is awesome, but it's pretty useless if you don't have precise control. This is the technical pillar. This is where we literally program an athlete's movements for total efficiency and skill. A great way to think about this is like you're programming a robot. You wouldn't just tell it, hey, throw the ball. No way. You would program the exact sequence, the timing of every single joint, the precise moment of release. Well, that's exactly what technical training does for a human athlete. It refines those motor patterns until they are completely automatic. So to program this robot, coaches often lean on what we can call the TTCV method. It's a handy little acronym for technique, timing, coordination, and video. First, you nail down the technique for maximum efficiency. Then, you perfect the timing and the rhythm of the movement. You build coordination so all the different parts of the body are working together in perfect harmony. And, this is so crucial, you use video analysis for objective feedback to make those tiny corrections. So at its heart, this whole process really breaks down into 3 steps. You analyze the movement, you take something complex like a golf swing, and you break it down into its smallest parts. Then you find and you fix any errors in that sequence. And then it's all about repetition, tons and tons of it, to hardwire that perfect pattern into muscle memory. So this brings up a really fascinating question for any coach or athlete. Should you just practice the same exact skill over and over again? That's called blocked practice. Or should you mix it up with what's called random practice? Well, the answer is you need both. Blocked practice is amazing when you're first learning a technique and trying to refine it. But random practice, where you're mixing up different skills, that's what actually helps you remember it and makes you way more adaptable in a real game. Okay, so we've got a powerful, finely tuned machine. What's next? Well, Pillar 3 is all about strategy. It's about taking those physical and technical skills and using them to outsmart your opponent. This is where the brawn meets the brain, right on the field. The best analogy for this is, without a doubt, a game of chess. A great athlete isn't just reacting to what's happening. They're thinking several moves ahead. They're analyzing the board, they're anticipating their opponent's next move, and they're positioning themselves for the win. Every single move has a purpose. A super simple way to remember the key parts of tactical prep is the GASM framework. You start with a game plan. That plan is built on a thorough analysis of your opponent. This leads you to develop specific offensive and defensive strategies. And finally, you're always looking for those advantageous matchups where you can really exploit a weakness. Game plan, analysis, strategy, matchups. GASM. So tactical training is really all about one thing: making smart decisions when the pressure is on. It's that ability to execute your game plan even when things are getting chaotic, and to be able to adjust it on the fly. It's basically applied intelligence in the heat of battle. So how does this actually help an athlete adapt when, plan A just isn't working? It's because tactical training doesn't just give them a plan A. It gives them a whole library of options. By practicing all these different scenarios, they build up a whole repertoire of tactics they can switch to in an instant, letting them counter whatever their opponent throws at them. And that leads us to our final, and you could argue, maybe the most important pillar. You can have the engine, you can have the programming, and you can have the strategy, but it all falls apart if you don't have the pilot. Pillar 4 is all about mastering the mind game, the athlete's inner world. Now, this slide points out a really crucial distinction. When we talk about the mind game, there are really two sides to this coin. You've got the mental or intellectual part. That's the cognitive stuff, like analyzing the game and making decisions. And then you've got the psychological or emotional side. That's all about managing your internal state, things like your confidence, your stress levels, all of that. And great athletes have a whole toolkit of psychological skills to manage that inner world. Clear goal setting gives them direction. Visualization lets them mentally rehearse success before they even step onto the court. Concentration training helps them block out the noise from the crowd. And stress management techniques, like deep breathing, keep them calm when the pressure is at its peak. So, let's bring it all home. What does this blueprint actually create? It creates the complete athlete, someone whose performance is built on all 4 of these pillars working in harmony, not just 1 or 2. This table just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? You've got the physical engine, built on specificity and progression. The technical programming, refined with that TDCV method. The tactical strategy, planned out with the GASM framework. And the mental pilot, guided by all those key psychological skills. Every single one supports the others. And that, right there, is the crucial takeaway. A physically gifted athlete who has poor technique is never, ever going to reach their full potential. A brilliant tactician who doesn't have the mental strength to execute under pressure is going to crumble. Real mastery comes from weaving all 4 of these pillars together into one single powerful system. So, as we close out, here's a final thought for you. This 4-pillar blueprint builds elite athletes, for sure, but these principles are universal. Think about a skill you want to master in your own life. Maybe it's learning an instrument or coding or public speaking. How could you apply these same ideas of building the engine, programming the skill, developing a strategy, and mastering your own mindset to achieve your own version of greatness?